I don't want to go pro. I just want to become stronger. Not with bullshit techniques, but with real strength that'll help me survive a no rules fights to the death. This quote is from Koga and can be seen as a form of foreshadowing. And for some, it might be enough to answer the question, should Koga learn the Niko style? But the question needs a far more complete answer, or one that's a bit more clear. So we'll be looking at both the character of Koga and Oma to get a bit closer to answering this question. But before we get into that, don't forget to like, sub if you like the video. I cover Kengan content all the time, as well as Tenkaichi and hopefully versus in the future. I have been planning to do that. So yeah, just don't forget to do any of that stuff. Koga has had the spirit of fighting within him ever since he was young. In his own words, I've been going off the rails for as long as I can remember, and I'm not gonna make excuses for myself, like how I never had any parents and never got along with my grandpa who raised me. I was just pissed off. Later on he goes to say, after I'd attained power, I'd lived wielding violence however I pleased. I stopped getting pissed off by feelings of powerlessness. But unfortunately for Koga, he had a false sense of security, a big fish in a small pond to put it into perspective. And that all ended the day he met Oma in the back alley to fight. Oma showed exactly how strong Koga really was, and that is to say that he wasn't strong at all, saying, "Ganging up on me ain't gonna make you stronger. If you wanna pick a fight with me, you better get stronger first. You bitches are weak." With that context in mind, it does show why Koga was looking for a martial arts style that could work in a no rules fight, because it was the only way he could have a chance of beating Oma. Surprisingly, or rather intentionally, Koga has the same attitude as Oma, meaning that he simply can't stand someone being stronger than him. And this attitude is one of the reasons there's such a deep bond between Oma and Koga. Something that Yamashita saw in Koga in the very first chapter, Oma's spirit, you could say. However, Koga's character does go through some changes during the 3-month training arc, two of the changes that are specifically important for this topic. The first one being, Koga learns not to let the spirit of Oma to hunt him or constantly constrain him, but rather to use that drive to surpass Oma himself. Because previously, Koga was obsessed with Oma since the days of the back alley, and this was a far more of a negative than a positive. In his own words, "I've been chasing him all these years. In a way, I've got him to thank for getting this strong, that's for sure. But at the same time, he chained me down. Don't be mistaken, he's just my waypoint. My goal is to be the strongest there is." The second is, Koga learns to improve by learning from others that are stronger than him. This is where Koga's humility comes in. After his sense of pride was shattered constantly in 3 months training, seeing how many people were ahead of him, Koga decided to learn whatever he could from the ones that are strong to make himself stronger. Something that is true even 200 chapters in. Koga has come a long way from how he used to be, but it is Koga's amazing talent, hard work, and willingness to learn that has put him as far as he is today. However, that is not enough to answer the question of should Koga learn the Niko style. Rather, the answer may complete itself when looking at Oma. Oma is one of the most beloved characters in all of Kengan. We've seen him grow from the edgy fighting tough guy to the man he is today. But when Koga first met him, the meeting wasn't so pleasant. and that's mostly because of Oma's suppressed memories. We get to see Oma in his rawest form here, the form Koga would end up chasing for the first part of the series. But in chapter 50 of Kengan Omega, that is, to this day one of the best chapters in Kengan history, where the ghost of Oma comes back to life, asking for another fight again, it is also the day Koga's ghost became real. So, even though this moment is hype, it also meant that the character of Oma had more purpose, even if he wasn't gonna be the main character this time. Bringing him back couldn't have been done for no reason. Let's not forget that even though Oma died in Kengan Ashura, spoiler alert, many of the plot points that were promised were still left unanswered by the end of Ashura. A good example is the last Niko. But is that really it? Was him being a clone necessary to bring him back to life? Are those two plot points enough? Maybe. But there's one plot point that is the most important, and I feel as though most people know what this plot point is and have forgotten about it. Being Koga's mentor. This isn't something that's completely new. As I've said earlier, Oma was always the goal Koga strived for, and later on he became more of a guide for Koga, which is exactly what a mentor's role truly is. However, him being alive meant that Oma could play a far more active role, and he does. From the moment he comes back, almost replacing Koga and showing him how it's supposed to be done. A few examples, or rather 2 examples of this are, during Zaiji's assault, Koga tries to protect Yamashita, but ultimately it is Oma and Ryan that complete Koga's objective. The second is Koga fails to qualify for the Kengan team, and Oma is the one that replaces him. In a way, you could say that Oma is eating Koga's role in the story, but Ryan himself puts it plainly when he says, "Didn't you notice? He said that this is too much for you to handle right now." Even though Oma was grateful to Koga for putting his life on the line for Yamashita, Oma took Koga's place because Koga simply wasn't ready to fight. Before the finals of Purgatory vs Kengan, we get to see a bit more insight to the relationship of Oma and Koga, where Koga says to Oma, "I can't have you lose, not until I get my revenge on you." Which seems like a line that may not matter that much, with Oma seeming like he didn't even take it seriously himself. But just like how Oma surprisingly remembered Koga from a long time ago, we see him acknowledge this line later on as he beats Lo Long. "I couldn't lose to you, no matter how strong you were. I've got many people waiting in line for a rematch." This line could refer to more people than just Koga. In fact, it probably does. But this line is directly connected to Koga, even though he is not the only one being referred to. But we still aren't close enough. Yes, Oma does teach Koga a few things, but to make Koga his successor is a different story. Moreover, Oma did say he wouldn't mind teaching Cosmo, but it seems as though Koga is getting way more attention. The question is why? In chapter 160, we see Oma say the following to Koga: "Don't think there's much left for you to learn from me though," which is completely different from what Koga is saying in chapter 200, meaning that there is a change that happens within the 40 chapters that changes Oma's mind. The Berserker Bro. In this arc, we see Oma constantly be impressed with Koga and cheering him on even though he says he doesn't necessarily want to. Kade saying to him, "Oma, I can see you grinning, you know." Oma later on talked about how Koga can learn the Niko style so quickly. "I wouldn't call him a student or anything. I only taught him cause he asked me. He's a way quicker learner than I am. Guess he's got a good eye." But it is Koga's fight with Silva that we see Oma's attitude change towards Koga. And this is mainly because Oma sees Koga take the Niko style and evolve it further to things that even Oma himself didn't teach him. In fact, after this match, we see Oma willing to teach Koga right after and between matches, saying, "Alright then, follow me. I can probably teach you one more move by the next match." Koga's performance may have shown Oma that not only was Koga a good potential rival, but that he may be a perfect student to learn and use the Niko style, a style that has no bullshit techniques, but real strength. Funny enough, I think that's the real reason. Whether or not Oma's life was in danger or not is probably not as big as a factor as Oma himself makes it seem. And now, with both characters and both pictures in perspective, I think we can draw a conclusion now. So, the conclusion writes itself, right? The writing's on the pages, so this should be easy. Not exactly. At the end of the day, Kengan Omega isn't some data book or statistical analysis. It's a story, and story needs to be satisfying. As of lately, Koga has been getting a lot of hate, and maybe him creating his own fighting style could have been better for some people. Not to mention, in fact, that there are many types of fighting style that qualify for Koga to learn. One of them, for example, being Salat. Maybe even some Nurashima techniques that are lurking somewhere, if they even are real. So answering the question with evidence may not even be enough. Maybe it never has been. However, one thing is clear. Koga is going to learn the Niko style. Thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to like, sub if you liked the video. If you made it this far, thank you. This is probably going to be one of my very first high effort videos. I covered and reviewed the chapters of Kengan Omega, so yeah, stick around to that. I think when this video releases, there will be a new chapter for 201, so yeah, subscribe to get that video soon. And yeah, take it easy.